All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a pretty wild strength-building secret. It comes from Soviet Special Forces, and it completely flips everything you think you know about getting stronger on its head. Get this, it suggests the best way to get stronger is to actually stop trying so hard. Sounds crazy, right? Let's dive in. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with a problem I think we've all faced, then we'll introduce this radical new idea, check out the science that makes it tick, lay out the specific rules, and finally, show you exactly how you can put it to work today.
Okay, first things first, the problem. Let's talk about something that is, just universally frustrating for anyone who works out, that dreaded, infuriating strength plateau.
I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? You're putting in the work, you're being consistent, but your numbers just stop. They will not budge. It feels like you've slammed into a brick wall and just pushing harder and harder isn't doing a thing. It's time for a totally new approach.
And this right here really lays out to two different worlds. On the left, that's what most of us do, right? The cramming model. You train a failure, you push till you can't push anymore, and you walk away feeling exhausted. But on the right, you have grease the groove. It's all about space practice, where you stop way before failure, and you actually feel more energized after a set.
So this brings us to the heart of this new idea. It's really a fundamental shift in how we think about building strength. It's not about punishing your muscles into submission, it's about practicing strength as a skill. And this one quote from Pavel Tsatsoulian, the guy who really brought this method to the West, says it all. Strength is a skill. Just think about that. If strength is a skill, like say playing the guitar, you don't get better by playing until your fingers bleed once a week. No way. You get better by practicing perfectly and often. So here's the key takeaway. Greasing the groove isn't really a muscular workout. It's a neurological one. You are literally training your nervous system to become incredibly good, incredibly efficient at one specific move, like a pull-up or a push-up. All right, let's peel back the layers and get into the science. Why does this whole practice thing work so well? Well, it all comes down to the conversation happening between your brain and your muscles. Okay, think of it this way. Every time you decide to do a push-up, your brain sends an electrical command down a very specific pathway to the exact muscles it needs to get the job done. This pathway, this is the foundation of every single movement you make. And this is the absolute best analogy for it. The first time you do a new movement, that signal is like a tiny, faint trail in the middle of a dense forest. It's hard to follow, but every single time you do a perfect rep, you're paving that trail. You're widening it, turning it from a dirt path into a 6-lane superhighway. That signal just gets faster and clearer every single time. And you know what? This superhighway effect has a real scientific name. It's called synaptic facilitation. All that means is that by practicing frequently, you're making the connections between your nerve cells stronger and more efficient. So you can recruit more muscle fibers faster with way less effort. You're literally getting stronger by making your nervous system smarter. Okay, so the why makes sense, right? Now let's get into the how. This method is incredibly powerful, but here's the catch. It only works if you follow a very specific and kind of weird set of rules. Let's break down the blueprint. These 5 rules are pretty much non-negotiable. First, you just pick one exercise. That's it. Second, and this is crucial, you stay far, far away from failure. If your max pull-ups is 10, you only do sets of 4 or 5. Third, you practice often. Lots of little sets scattered throughout your day. Fourth, you have to stay fresh. If you feel tired after a set, you did too much. You shouldn't even be sweating. And finally, number 5, perfect form always. Remember, every rep is practice, so perfect practice makes perfect. So how do you actually fit this into your day? It's actually way easier than you think. You can use triggers. Put a pull-up bar in a doorway and do a set every time you walk through. Or set a timer and do a set at the top of every hour. My personal favorite is the Pomodoro method. You work for 25 minutes, and then in your 5-minute break, you knock out a quick, perfect, energizing set.
So this all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work? Like in the real world? Let's take a look at the application and, more importantly, the results.
Okay, check out this classic story from Pavel himself. His 60-year-old father-in-law just did 5 chin-ups every time he went down to his basement. Never got tired, never pushed it. And the result? After just a few weeks, the guy could do 20 chin-ups in a row, more than he could do when he was a young Marine. It's the perfect example of this frequent, low-intensity practice. But hey, anecdotes are one thing. Let's look at some cold, hard data. What is this number, plus 49%? What does that even mean? Well, that massive number comes from a study by the Mountain Tactical Institute. They took 2 groups and tested their pull-ups. One group did a traditional high-intensity density workout, basically just cramming in as many reps as possible. The other group used Grease the Groove. And after just 3.5 weeks, the GTG group saw a 49% increase in their max pull-ups. They completely blew the other group out of the water. And get this, they also saw a 35% jump in their push-ups without even practicing them.
So here's the big takeaway. Your weaknesses might not be a lack of muscle, but simply an unpracticed skill. The path to getting crazy strong isn't through exhaustion, it's through patient, perfect practice. So, the only question left is, what skill are you going to start practicing?